Cliff.
How's it going?
Hotep.
Hey, how you doing, Harold?
Well, it's great to hear you again, Hotep. I'm the gentleman who had called right before you were going off when Walter called.
Okay.
And you kind of shut him up.
Okay, man. Let's not mention the mentally brain dead.
I'm waiting. I know.
I think he's on the line holding on right now.
You can keep holding.
Oh, he is? Oh, my goodness, I can't wait. But this is my original topic was about this Nunes memo, but I'm going to bypass that because we're talking about that history now.
Yeah. And Michael Imhotep is probably qualified to talk about the Nunes fake memo, too. But
yeah,
go right ahead, my friend.
Go ahead.
What I'm going to get to, and I did answer this question, if you remember, in regards to Africa, when I talked about the black slave wars between the different African tribes in Africa when they were selling each other to the white man on the waters.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what difference do you see in that than you see now modernly when we talk about the different gangs? Everything's about money, because back then it was about money.
Mm-hmm.
And money and goods. But even now, when you talk about the different gangs and the different organizations, and it's as if we're so divided, we're conquered, and we're just steadily talking history, we're talking this and that, but yet we don't have a therefore. Therefore, what do we do right now as a people to move forward? And before, if you remember when you just talking about hair, right? When they were doing their hair processing. But that song, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud,
right.
Those businesses went out of business because Afros came in and they went out. So
which businesses went out of business?
It's going to galvanize our young people. It's going to galvanize our community. No matter if you're Republican, Democrat, that we're working towards helping each other. And sometimes you have to be on all fronts. So I can't speak against Walter or Wayne Brady and Kerry but if they're coming from a point of view to help all of us, then we need different people in those different tents. But if you're speaking to the point that this is the only
who is all of us?
Who is all of us?
Then,
who is all of us?
You mean all black folks? When you say that somebody can help
all black folks, we're in a different tent.
Yes. Okay.
So, in as much as we may feel for a particular tent, but if you're doing it as a medium to help except just yourself, then I understand that. But if you're just there because, as you say, you don't have any facts or you don't have any history behind you, then you're hurting everyone, even yourself.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Harold, I appreciate the call. No, you made some good points. I'm going to jump in first, and I'm going to let Mike Imhotep say that.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, and I won't even mention any names, but those black folks who walk lockstep with the Republican Party, I'm sorry, you cannot convince me that they have love of self. Anytime that you support a party that openly, knowledgeably has used a Southern strategy, has used blatant racism, has used all types of divisive tactics based on race.
We're doing it right now.
That's what I'm talking about. And you can't tell me you love black people too, and you're for black people. I just happen to be a Republican. I think there's a contradiction.
Now, there's some Republicans there's some black Republicans that I know are like Dr. William Picard is one of them. Okay? Dr. Bill Picard.
I like him too.
Yeah.
But I cannot understand any self-respecting black person.
Right.
Being involved with a candidate who blatantly used racism to get elected, or a party that has decades of employing a Southern strategy to win races.
And you have some black Republicans. Shermichael Singleton is one of them. He got more backbone after he got fired by the Trump administration, by the way. But Shermichael Singleton is one of them who, denounces the voter suppression tactics, things like this. So you have some, but you got some other ones like Bruce LaVale, Pastor Dale Scott. You got some of these other sycophants out here who just turn a blind eye.
Right. Well, they're in it for the money.
Well, there's some of the same ones who would have turned in Harriet Tubman. That's why she had to carry
Let me get back to your question here. Because your original question was, therefore, what do we do now? And I only advocate that black folks do three things. One, know and understand your history. Two, love yourself. And three, come together to unify. Because if you know your history and you love yourself, when you come together, you will do the right thing. That's my thought. That has been my belief for a long time. I'm sure Michael Imhotep has a more elaborate answer than that.
Yeah, your history and culture gives you your VIPs, your values and interests and your principles, very important. And then you have the economic empowerment component so that we become the number one employers of our people, just like every other ethnic group in this country. So in 2007, we had 1.9 million African-American owned businesses. In 2012, we had 2.6 million. Today it's probably 3 million. We know that African-American women are creating businesses at 6 times the national average. We have to continue and expand the support of these businesses, but also understand these are the ones most likely to employ our people as well. And then also the political component is extremely important. So not only do we have to engage in economic guerrilla warfare and redistribute the pain through targeted, sustained economic withdrawal strategies to those doing harm against us, right? Like the Fox News Network. But the other thing is because if you understand history, you understand that public policy has always kicked our behind.
Yes.
Okay. And during the Civil Rights Movement, African Americans understood this. This is why they fought for a Civil Rights Act of 64. This is why they fought for a Voting Rights Act of 65. And not only were they fighting for that legislation, but they were fighting to break down the walls of Jim Crow, and also to attack the violence that was inflicted upon them to maintain the Jim Crow system. Yeah. Okay, so when you have the breaking down of the Jim Crow system, you're also attacking the racial violence being inflicted upon you. So because we understand that, and we look at what the Republicans are doing largely. And that's the problems with some Democrats, but largely 95% of these negative policies are coming from Republicans. If the laws and policies are kicking you behind, then we have to master and engage in political self-defense.
Right.
This goes way beyond voting. We have to understand how politics impacts every aspect of our life, understand how to disarm them of that weapon that they're using against us and use it against them. So we need to understand the law better than they understand the law.
Right. And Mike Imhotep specified economic entrepreneurship and coming together and politics. I'm saying if we have self-love and self-awareness, that stuff will come.
That's the foundation.
Yeah. You have
to understand those different levels. Yeah. Then we have to also continue to support African-American media, African-American owned media, and media that targets us and does it in a positive way and gain control of more media. Because what's taking place right now is a gentrification of the media airways across the country. If we look at Sinclair Media, the reason why the TV show Underground was canceled was because WGN, which was part of the Tribune Media conglomerate, they were bought by Sinclair. Sinclair bought about 200 TV stations and turned them into little mini Fox News stations.
Yeah.
So they're very right-wing leaning, and then they're required to run commentaries favorable to the Trump administration at least 9 times a week. And the person they have doing it is Boris Epstein, who is one of the biggest sycophants, one of the biggest behind kissers and liars in the Trump campaign.
That's why he's in that position.
That's why he's in that position.
Lying is a prerequisite. Let me get back to our phone lines where, let me see, I think Robinson's on line 3. Hey, Robinson, thanks for calling. You're on with Michael Imhotep.
Hey, Cliff.
Yes.
In 1970, I was down there in Fort Worth, Texas.
Uh-huh.
And they celebrate Juneteenth Day down there like a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
For the slaves down there.
Juneteenth, yeah.
And my brother asked me, said, man, where you get that from? I said, man, I've been reading my history, man.
Right.
You know what, Robinson, I'm glad you brought that up, and I appreciate the call. Could you explain Juneteenth Day to the listeners who don't know what that is, Mr. Imhotep?
Yeah, well, Juneteenth is a commemoration of June 19th, 1865 in Galveston, Texas, which, according to the reports, was the last, this was the last group of enslaved African Americans to find out that they were free.
Yes.
Okay. Largely because of the Emancipation Proclamation is said. But what happens is as they go through, during the Civil War, after the Emancipation Proclamation, as the Union troops go through these Confederate areas, right, and take control of these areas, they free the enslaved African people. So, and there are various theories on why, because the Civil War officially ends June 2nd. The Civil War officially ends, I think it's June 2nd, 1865. 1865, right? So they're going to find out. They're going to find out after that. All right. So there's some theories into why these were the last to know. One theory is that the plantation owners there in Texas wanted to get another year of work out of them for harvesting the crops, things like this, right?
Well, and Galveston is like an island located off of Houston, so physically it would be more difficult for news and people to get there.
Yeah, but what happens is that you have a national Juneteenth organization, and Juneteenth is celebrated now as more African Americans moved out of the South during the Great Migration. Juneteenth started to be celebrated less and less. Okay, but you have people who still celebrate the day all across the country.
Right. Do you celebrate, by the way?
I celebrate Juneteenth some. It's important to deal with the history of the Civil War and deal with the 13th Amendment, deal with it. Just understand that history. But I think it's something that we should celebrate, but tie it to the larger history also.
Let's see if I can sneak another call or two in here. Let's get William from line 1 on. Hey, William, thanks for calling. You're talking to Brother Michael Imhotep.
Very informative show. Look, I just want to say that the first Before the Mayflower that I purchased was by J.E. Rogers. It was in color. And, of course, I let it out to relatives and it destroyed. Then I got his book, too, and a lot of his references of data in his book, he referenced J.E. Rogers. And so, and that was not the first one to write Before the Mayflower. J.E. Rogers wrote it. It was in a 8.5 by, maybe 12 by, it's a large book, and it was in color. And I lent it out to my grandchildren. And, of course, they lost it. I don't know what happened.
Who knows where it's at now, right?
And I wish I could get hold of that, because when he died, all of his works he left to his wife, and she took them to a museum in New York. And that's the last I heard of it. I got a slew of his books.
Thanks for sharing that, William. I appreciate that. I see Brother Imhotep on his computer taking notes. And
thanks for calling. Yeah, I'm familiar with J.E. Rogers, actually. I've talked to William before also.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Let's get right back to the phone lines. Appreciate you sharing that. I believe it is Terrence who's on line 5. Hey, Terrence, thanks for calling. You're on with Michael Imhotep.
Hey, Cliff, how you doing?
Good. On that.
Man, it's Titans going to go on here to get in that tournament, right?
You know what, man? They play against IUPUI tonight. I'm broadcasting the game at around 7 o'clock. And if they are going to turn around their fortunes this season, I think tonight is the night that they need to get started. I'm optimistic that they will try to make a move tonight finally.
Okay, Cliff, I respect your show, but I'm going to say one thing about the Mr. What's his name?
Mr. Imhotep.
Just call me Michael.
Michael?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to say one thing.
Go ahead.
You remind me of my man, Django, the Butler.
Why would you say that, man? Oh, I think he hung up.
He probably did, because he knew I was going to blast him. Don't waste time with people like that.
Well, I mean, I take all callers, but I mean...
No, I'm not saying don't take his call. I'm saying don't waste time.
I can't...
responding to that type of nonsense.
You are probably...
That's why he ran.
You're probably the most...
He knows I'll expose him to the fraud. That's why he ran.
Anyway, appreciate the call. Appreciate Michael being here. Let's take one more call before we run out of time. And I believe Ronald...
He doesn't even know he doesn't even know what an Uncle Tom is. Because Uncle Tom was the hero.
Hey, gentlemen.
He doesn't even understand his...
man.
Go ahead.
What's going on, Brother Ron?